Deep, calm voice. The loudest man in the room usually believes he owns the room. Pause. He thinks power lives in volume, in constant movement, in making sure everyone notices him every second he breathes. Slowly, he speaks before anyone else. He reacts before anyone else. He explains himself before anyone even asks for an explanation. Pause. And for a while it works. People look at him. People respond to him. People orbit around the noise he creates. Lower tone, but look closer. Really look closer. The moment pressure enters the room, the moment tension rises, the moment conflict appears, everyone already knows exactly where he stands, exactly what he feels, exactly how to move him. Pause. He gave all of that away long ago without realizing it. Slightly softer. Now think about the opposite kind of person. The one who walks into a room without trying to own it. The one who speaks only when their words carry weight. The one who never seems rushed to prove themselves. Pause. People often misunderstand that person in the beginning. They call them quiet, reserved, hard to read. Slowly, but something strange happens around them over time. People start watching them more carefully. Their silence creates space. Their patience creates tension. Their calmness forces others to reveal more than they intended. Steady tone. Most people spend their entire lives trying to be understood immediately. They rush to explain their motives. They rush to show their emotions. They rush to defend their decisions before anyone even attacks them. Pause, and they call that honesty. But many times it is not honesty. Deeper tone, it is fear. Fear of being judged incorrectly. Fear of being disliked. Fear of being misunderstood. So they keep talking and talking and talking, trying to control how others see them. Slowly, but every unnecessary word weakens their position a little more. Cinematic pause. A man named Elias learned that lesson too late. Storytelling tone. When he was younger, he believed openness automatically created trust. If he felt something, he said it. If he had an idea, he shared it immediately. If he had a plan, everyone around him knew about it before the first step was even taken. Pause. His friends called him genuine, honest, transparent. And he wore those labels proudly because he thought transparency meant strength. Lower voice. Then reality started teaching him something different. Slow build. The first time it happened was at work. Elias had spent months developing an idea that could change the direction of the company department he worked in. He stayed late almost every night refining it. He barely slept. He sacrificed weekends for it. Pause. But instead of protecting the idea while it developed, he talked about it constantly. Every lunch break became another explanation. Every coffee break became another conversation about what he planned to do. Slight pause. People smiled while he spoke. People encouraged him. People nodded. Dramatic pause. And then one morning, during a meeting he thought would finally reward his effort, another man presented a version of Elias's idea before he had the chance. Slowly, not identical. Just close enough. Close enough that leadership saw it as the same concept. Close enough that Elias suddenly sounded repetitive when he tried to explain his own version. Tense tone. The room shifted against him in real time. He could feel it happening. His chest tightened. His breathing changed. He started talking faster, trying to reclaim ownership, trying to explain that he had been discussing this idea for months. Deep emphasis. But the more emotional he became, the weaker he looked. And the calmer the other man remained, the more credible he appeared. Pause. Elias walked home that night with rage boiling inside him. Not only because the idea had been taken, but because deep down he understood the truth. Slowly, nobody stole access to his thoughts. He handed it to them freely. Reflective tone. That experience should have changed him immediately. But people rarely change after one lesson. Pain usually has to repeat itself before wisdom finally enters. Slower. Months later, it happened again in a different form. This time it was personal. Soft storytelling tone. He met a woman named Serena at a bookstore during a stormy evening when the city streets were almost empty. They talked for hours. About childhood memories. About regrets. About ambition. About loneliness. Elias felt understood in a way he had not experienced in years. Pause. So he did what he always did. He opened every door inside himself immediately. Slower. Within days she knew his insecurities. Within weeks she knew his fears. Within months she knew exactly what affected him emotionally and exactly what didn't. Lower voice. At first it felt intimate. Then slowly it became dangerous. Tense tone. Arguments started changing shape. Whenever tension appeared, Serena instinctively reached for information Elias himself had provided. Not always cruelly, not always intentionally, but she knew where the pressure points existed because he had mapped them out for her with complete honesty. Dramatic pause. One night during an argument, she looked directly at him and said something that froze him in place. Whispering slightly, "You always need people to understand you." Pause. The room went silent. Because it was true. And the truth hurt more than the insult itself. Deep reflective tone. Elias realized in that moment that his constant explaining was not confidence. It was dependence. He needed reassurance, needed approval, needed people to see him correctly. And because he needed it so badly, he kept surrendering pieces of himself trying to earn it. Softly, after that relationship ended, something inside him shifted. Not dramatically, not overnight. Quietly, slow calm tone, he stopped talking so much. Not in a bitter way, not in a cold way. He simply began observing. Pause. At first the silence felt unbearable. When someone asked a question, his instinct still screamed to overexplain. When tension appeared, his body still wanted to react instantly. When someone misunderstood him, he still felt the urge to correct them immediately. Steady tone, but little by little he resisted. And the more he resisted, the more he noticed. He noticed how uncomfortable silence made other people. He noticed how quickly people exposed themselves when he stayed calm. He noticed how often people filled quiet moments by revealing information they never planned to share. Deeper emphasis, most importantly, he noticed something about himself. The less he explained himself, the more deliberate his actions became. Because now his decisions were no longer performances for an audience. They belonged to him. Cinematic storytelling tone. Years later, Elias met an older man named Vincent during a train ride through the northern part of the country. Vincent looked ordinary at first glance. Gray coat, worn shoes, calm eyes. But there was something unusual about the way people behaved around him. Conductors spoke respectfully without knowing why. Strangers lowered their voices near him without realizing it. Pause. Elias could not explain it. At one point during the ride, Vincent noticed Elias watching him. They only react to them. Pause. That sentence stayed in Elias's mind long after the train stopped. Slowly, the two men continued speaking for hours. And during that conversation, Vincent explained something Elias would never forget. Control does not belong to the loudest person, he said. It belongs to the person. You're studying people, Vincent said without looking up from his book. Elias smiled awkwardly. Something like that. Vincent closed the book. Deep voice. Most people never study people. He replied, who remains centered while everyone else leaks information emotionally. Calm, reflective tone. Elias asked him what he meant. Vincent leaned back in his seat. Watch people during stress, he said. That's when truth escapes through the cracks. One person gets defensive immediately. Another becomes aggressive. Another starts over-explaining. Another seeks validation. Everyone reveals themselves when pressure rises. But the rare person who stays measured under pressure becomes impossible to steer. Pause. Elias listened carefully. Vincent continued. Deep emphasis. Most manipulation is not force. It's prediction. If someone knows exactly how you react emotionally, they can guide your behavior without touching you. Slow, dramatic pause. That idea haunted Elias for weeks. Because once he heard it, he started seeing it everywhere. Continue with same cinematic pattern for the remaining script. Calm, deep narration, pauses after impactful lines, slower delivery during philosophical statements, tense tone during conflicts, soft reflective tone during lessons, and strong emphasis on final metaphor sections.